Something felt wrong in Blackridge long before anyone could explain it. It didn't arrive with sirens or panic, but with small, quiet changes that most people ignored. Noah Bennett noticed them because he always noticed things others didn't. Conversation started slipping, names forgotten mid-sentence, simple thoughts dissolving like they were never there. His mother stared blankly at her plate more often, his sister moved slower, like her mind was lagging behind her body. Everyone blamed stress, exhaustion, routine, but Noah felt different. Clear. Awake. And that difference made him uneasy. Because if nothing was wrong, then why was he the only one who felt like something was? By the time Noah stepped into school, the pattern was impossible to ignore. Teachers repeated instructions they had just given. Students forgot assignments minutes after hearing them. Even Mason, his closest friend, laughed it off at first, but his focus was slipping too. Noah began watching everything, the cafeteria trays, the packaging, the labels, and that's when he saw it. A symbol. Small, nearly invisible, stamped onto food items from completely different brands. It didn't belong there. It wasn't random. It was deliberate. The more he looked, the more it appeared, like someone had marked everything people consumed without them ever realizing it. And suddenly, it wasn't just strange anymore. It was targeted. The truth started to take shape when Noah followed the supply chain. Grey Hill Distribution Center stood at the edge of town, quiet, efficient, and unnoticed by most. But not by him. Late at night, hidden behind fencing and shadows, he watched trucks unload containers that didn't belong in any normal food operation. Workers moved carefully, avoiding eye contact, as if they knew they were part of something they weren't supposed to question. That same symbol marked every container. Noah didn't need confirmation anymore. This wasn't contamination. It was control. And whatever was being introduced into Blackridge, it was happening right there, deliberately, systematically, and without resistance. Trying to warn people only made things worse. The more Noah spoke, the more others dismissed him, their reactions strangely uniform, almost rehearsed. It wasn't just disbelief, it was like their ability to question had been dulled. Adults, teachers, even authority figures responded with the same empty reassurance. Nothing is wrong. Everything is fine. But it wasn't fine. Deep in the town's records, hidden behind years of overlooked paperwork, Noah uncovered something far more disturbing. A company, Vale Biosystems, had been quietly embedding itself into Blackridge, controlling supply routes, infrastructure, distribution. This wasn't random poisoning. It was designed not to destroy people instantly, but to slowly weaken them, until they stopped resisting entirely. There was only one way left to prove it. Noah had to go inside. Grey Hill wasn't just a warehouse, it was the center of everything. Moving through its interior felt like stepping into something precise, controlled, almost too perfect. Conveyor systems moved endlessly, packaging flawless, operations silent. And then he saw it. The substance. Clear, undetectable, being measured and introduced into everyday food supplies. Workers didn't question it. Supervisors monitored it like routine procedure. This wasn't hidden anymore, it was normalized. And in that moment, Noah understood the real danger. Not just what was being done, but how easily it was being accepted. Escape came fast, chaotic, and unforgiving. The moment they were seen, everything changed. Lights snapped on, alarms cut through the silence, and the system that had seemed so controlled suddenly turned against them. Running through the yard, rain hitting hard against concrete, Noah felt the weight of what they had uncovered. But the real challenge wasn't escaping Grey Hill, it was what came after. Because even with proof, people didn't react the way he expected. Some denied it. Some ignored it. Some simply didn't understand it anymore. That's when it became clear. The poisoning hadn't just affected their bodies. It had affected their ability to believe. Blackridge didn't collapse. It didn't erupt into chaos. It hesitated. And that hesitation revealed everything. Enough people began to question, slowly, uncertainly, like waking from something they didn't remember falling into. The system cracked, not because it failed, but because someone refused to accept it. Noah stood there, watching the town begin to pull itself back together, knowing how close it had come to disappearing without ever realizing it. This wasn't about survival in the way people imagined. It wasn't loud or violent. It was quiet, controlled, gradual. And the most dangerous part of all was how easily it almost worked. Even after Greyhill was shut down, something didn't sit right with Noah. The town was recovering, yes, but not completely. There were still moments when people paused too long, when conversations drifted into silence for no reason, when thoughts seemed to take effort. It was subtle now, weaker, but still there. That meant whatever had been introduced into the food hadn't just disappeared. It had already done something permanent. When investigators claimed the situation was contained, Noah didn't believe them. Contained didn't mean stopped. It just meant controlled. And control was exactly what this had always been about. Digging deeper into the footage he recorded, Noah noticed something he had missed before. In the background of one of the clips, barely visible, a supervisor mentioned distribution beyond Blackridge. Not expansion, continuation. That single word changed everything. Blackridge hadn't been the start. It had been a test site. A controlled environment to measure effects, responses, resistance levels. And if the results were considered successful, then it was already happening somewhere else. Maybe multiple places. The idea settled heavily in Noah's mind. This wasn't over. It had only moved. Mason didn't want to hear it at first. None of them did. After everything they had been through, the thought that it was still happening somewhere else felt unbearable. But Noah couldn't ignore what he knew. Patterns don't just disappear, they repeat. And once something like this proves it works, it doesn't get abandoned. It gets refined. Improved. Made harder to detect. Emma listened quietly, understanding more than she said, while the adults tried to move forward, eager to believe it was all behind them. But Noah had learned something most people hadn't. Silence doesn't mean safety. It just means something hasn't been noticed yet. Late one night, unable to sleep, Noah went back through every piece of information he had collected, documents, footage, symbols, names. That's when he found it. Another symbol. Similar, but not identical. Slight variation. Different marking pattern. It wasn't a mistake. It was a version. A new phase. His pulse slowed, not from fear, but from certainty. Vale hadn't stopped. They had adapted. The first version had been subtle, gradual. This next one might not need to be. And if that was true, then whatever came next wouldn't just affect thinking. It could affect behavior. Decisions. Control on a level no one would even recognize. Noah stepped outside into the quiet early morning, the same street he had stood on before. It looked normal again. Peaceful. Safe. But now he understood how fragile that illusion really was. Danger didn't always come from outside. Sometimes it was built into everyday life so seamlessly that no one questioned it. Food. Routine. Trust. All things people rely on without thinking. And that's what made it powerful. Because once trust is used as a tool, it becomes almost impossible to see the threat clearly. He didn't know where it would happen next. He didn't know how far it had already spread. But he knew one thing with absolute certainty: someone had to notice. Someone had to question what everyone else accepted without thinking. Because once people stop questioning, control becomes effortless. And Noah had seen exactly how close that had come to happening. He wasn't just a witness anymore. He understood the pattern now. And once you understand something like that, you can't unsee it. Blackridge survived. But survival wasn't the same as safety. It was just the beginning of awareness. And awareness changes everything. As Noah stood there, watching the stillness of a town that had almost been taken without a single loud moment, he realized something far more unsettling than anything he had faced before. This wasn't a single event. It wasn't even a single place. It was a method. And methods don't disappear. They evolve.